Uh-oh. Forgot the noisemaker.
This noisemaker?
Oh, and the other noisemaker. We're making all kinds of noise here. Oh, gosh. Hey!
Hey!
How y'all doing? Welcome back, Hometown East Tennessee. Episode 4.
Yeah.
So that's a month of episodes we've done now.
No, last week was 4.
Oh. Sorry, there's a mute. Yeah, there you go. Well, technically, the first episode was episode 0. There we go. The first episode was episode 0.
Right.
Because that was kind of a proof of concept, and we did it right here. And we haven't been back in this area in a while, and I kind of dig this right now because we have decent light. We're not worrying about the sun like last week. Yeah. We started off, we looked good.
We looked good at the beginning.
I'm just saying.
And then as the shadows shifted.
Right. Right. We had a few technical problems last week. We got over it, uploaded a clean copy, which I think was kind of funny. Every time I was working on stuff, just cutting to Bailey. Just bringing up all kinds of different subjects. Just cut. I thought it was a great montage. It actually said, now, here's a montage. So I think we're slowly getting the technology dialed in. Of course, we could always do better, so I'm going to start right off at the top. If you want to support the show, go to our Patreon. And you don't have to give us a lot, but if you go to Patreon, you subscribe $1 an episode, $2 an episode. Every time we release a new episode, and we only release 2 episodes a week. I mean, anything over 2 episodes you're going to get more for your money. Every time we release an episode, it'll deduct that amount from your account. We'll get that at the end of the month, and we'll be able to put that towards new equipment, new cameras. We need new tripods, and we need to work out something with our audio host for our podcast. Yeah. Which we hit the limit like the second week on the podcast. There's a bandwidth limit. We hit it, and Patreon's a great way to get involved. Donate only for episodes that as they come out, and if people start signing up for Patreon, we will start doing some exclusives. We'll do some behind the scenes, and today we got a video. How about that?
That's right.
How often do you get to watch a video on your web show? We got a video, and that will go probably on the Patreon to watch again if you want to just take it and riff on it and add cats.
Please add cats.
Everyone's better at editing videos than I am. So add cats to it, I beg you. So it's been a whole week, and we got food this week.
Yeah, we got food.
But we got some news. Not so much news as current affairs is what we have this week.
Current local affairs.
I've been going through the Johnson City Press. I've been making some notes. I know that you've seen a few things, and we just want to talk to it. We're going to give it just a little bit of time because we have to give it a little bit for people to kind of accumulate in the chat room. Actually, I am a terrible human being. I should have had this already prepared, but immediately after we finished last week's show, within 10 minutes, someone goes, "Oh, can you mention my event that's going on in Johnson City?" And she sent me a message today. Where is she? I obviously suck at this so bad. There she is. It's my friend Renee. I've known Renee forever. She used to work at the skate center, Johnson City Skate Center.
Oh, cool. And
I got to know her and her late husband, who was just the greatest dude. We would talk video games.
Yeah. Until
I was late for something. But she wanted me to say that coming up Sunday, and I'm going to mention this again at probably the halfway point, because she's told all of her friends that we're going to mention this. But I wanted to get it out of the way at the beginning and come back to it at the end. She's having Shop at the Rink at the Johnson City Skate Center Sunday, August 27th. It's going to be 12 to 5. It's like a bazaar. It's not a bazaar. It's not bizarre, but it's a bazaar. It's a collection of lots of vendors that are coming together. What is it? Jamberry, LuLaRoe. I don't understand. LuLaRoe's like tights, right? It's pants. It's a pants thing.
I think that's Lululemon.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I don't know what LuLaRoe is.
So I'm now going to have to go to this thing to learn what these are. Roden and Fields, Avon, Mary Kay. There's Handmade Jewelry, Paparazzi, Airbon, Pampered Chef. All of these. Individual, rugged individual kind of organizations that sell these great products.
High quality.
It's your neighbors.
Yeah.
So go out to Skate Center. That's
It's
the
a
27th.
free admission, we should say, for
That's
shoppers
important.
and concessions. For shoppers and concessions are there.
I
So
wonder if you
can
wear your skates. Because you put skates
Ooh,
on,
skate around?
and it's like you're just
Oh my
skating around.
God.
You're like, one of those. I'll be back.
That sounds like
I want
an
one of those.
amazing chance for a great disaster. I'm just gonna go with my camera.
That might be worth it.
See people run into the road and in fields.
Right. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
I just want to make sure to mention that she was so passionate. She's been trying to catch the show, but she misses all of the Facebook updates we do just before the show. She's missed them, and I was like, "Hey, here you go, come join us." So that's Renee, and that's her thing coming up this week. Mm-hmm. All right, back to the news. I saw this article, and we're talking about murals again.
Again.
Now, murals are one of those things that keep coming up in Johnson City. You know, for years, you painted something on a wall and nobody paid attention downtown.
Right.
Suddenly, 3-4 years ago, Dick Nelson, Nelson's Fine Arts, now Dos Gatos Coffee Bar. Dick, if any one person helped spark the modern renaissance in downtown Johnson City, it was Dick Nelson. He started out at Ladybug Gallery right up here on Watauga.
That's right.
He started there. He moved downtown and became Nelson Fine Art. Mm-hmm. And so a couple years ago, he painted a beautiful Nelson Fine Art mural. It was an original work of art, and it looked fantastic. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just a sign. I mean, yeah, it was signage for his business, but it was very artistic, very good looking. I should have gotten a picture of it. But it was great, and he immediately got flack from the city.
Yeah.
The city had ordinances that prevented murals and signage from being in the downtown district.
Right.
So Dick Nelson, who just the nicest guy, but I just have a mental image, and this isn't a fact. It's just I have a mental image of after all the battles and all the work he's done downtown, he's kind of sighs and goes, "Here we go again." And so Dick took it to the city, and he tried to get the laws changed. He said, "Will you look into this? Will you expand the laws? Because this is not a sign. This is not an ugly eyesore. This is art that I'm trying to put on the side of my building. That just happens to be a sign." And this is over the period of a year. They finally got it on the docket. They finally got the city commission to address it, and the city commission goes, "No, I don't think we have to change much." They made some minor changes in other kinds of signs, as I remember. And if there's anyone in the chat room, please correct me, jump in here. This is my memory, and I think we all know how that works. But they did that, and it sat there, nothing moving, for a long while. And now the city commission, or I'm sorry, it was not the city commission, it was the downtown the historic zoning commission, have had a meeting, and they were going to look at the guidelines. And we're in a place where you've got a couple people that are like, "Well, we'll look at it," and we have one steadfast that is absolutely not. The synopsis, because I don't want to read the whole article for you. You can find it on the Hometown Facebook page. Quote, "The draft of guidelines that made its way to Tuesday's meeting altered existing language to only apply to street-facing walls, opening up the possibility for murals in places like the breezeway that connects downtown square parking lot and East Main Street. The new guidelines also specify that murals may only be painted directly on brick surfaces if they are silicate dye paints or painted onto a mesh, vinyl, or fabric material before being placed on the wall. The guidelines also specify only one mural will be allowed per wall." Now, to me, this is kind of opening up. I understand now what the core of their argument was. People were saying they just don't want art on the walls.
Right.
It goes on to say Sheila Cox, who is completely opposed to murals. She says, "I just can't support it. I just can't. I still feel like we need to preserve the integrity of the buildings. The art to me are the bricks, are the buildings, are the architectural features. I feel that murals in a whole would be a mistake." So I don't know how I land on that, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
I have been to a lot of cities and have seen striking murals that add value to the street that I'm on. Dick Nelson's was in a cross street facing WJHL. So it wasn't even on Main Market, State of Franklin. It wasn't even on Main Street. And so I don't know, according to this revision they're considering, it hasn't passed, but they're considering, I don't know if that's going to make any difference to Dick in that situation. Meanwhile, there's a mural being painted downtown.
Oh, there is, isn't there?
And there's a mural right down the hill.
Yeah.
in what's the new park?
Oh.
Oh boy, I'm a terrible local guy.
I didn't actually know it had a name yet.
It does have a name, and I cannot remember the name of it. Oh, there's Chris. Hey, DJ Ray.
Hey.
It's good to see you. How can the city justify paying someone to paint a mural on their park? Is it because it's in a park? I don't know.
I don't know. I felt like I had researched, but now I feel ill-equipped.
Oh, see, I've not done enough research. I have this one article here in front of me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like a fair compromise would just be that that getting only a certain portion of the downtown walls could be covered, or getting just approval for each piece of art. I mean,
like on a case-by-case basis?
Right, because I think a lot of people who don't really know much about it think of murals as graffiti.
Yeah.
And that's really not the case.
Or as free advertisements designed as hidden as graffiti or art. Right.
And I would just... I don't see a full ban being the right thing to do.
Okay, devil's advocate. The commissioner on the board that has a problem, and this is the Historic Zoning Commission, not the City Commission. The one that has the problem with it, her problem is that she loves the buildings, and she's afraid that this artwork, this mural, is going to damage the facade of these historic buildings, and say the next owners of the buildings come along, they try to remove the mural, and now they've damaged this piece of Johnson City's history.
I can understand that to an extent. So many of the buildings downtown, though, have been rebuilt over the past, even just piecemeal, that I get it. I don't want to see a ton of painted storefronts, but I don't think that's what's happening.
Right.
I can't imagine. I'm just trying to envision downtown right now, and there aren't even that many places you could paint on the storefronts.
Right.
So for me, I get it. The brick is nice. We want to maintain, our historic architecture. But
Majestic Park has a mural.
What's Majestic Park?
Right next to the Hideaway. That little.
Oh yeah, Majestic Park has a mural.
That was painted by Bill Bledsoe. I knew Bill Bledsoe and I were in theater together many years ago, and he painted that, and there was no problem at all at the time. Yeah. Was that sponsored by the city? Why are we have to go to the zone historic people?
I know. What I wonder is if this is all just part of, they're taking steps downtown to make sure homeless people aren't sleeping down there. They're taking steps to try to clean it up, and I wonder if this is just part of that, like.
Oh, well.
Maybe kind of tied to trying to make it a nice, clean downtown.
And that is another thing. Imagine the breezeway there on Main Street, right down the middle. Everyone just calls it the breezeway. Once it's painted in, an urban graffiti style, is that really Johnson City? I mean, I don't know.
See, what I envision is, those 3 graffiti, framed graffiti in the breezeway?
From the first Urban Art Throwdown. Yeah, that was the first time we did roller derby.
I don't see why we couldn't just do that.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And it's not the whole wall. It's not affecting the brick, but people still get to display their art.
Ah, that is covered in the zoning board's
so
proposal.
I
So
see.
if you have a way to mount that art onto the facade,
Right.
instead of just painting on the brick, or even if you build, a shell over the brick and put your art on top of that, this current zoning standard would allow that. So they passed the motion to they passed a motion to one day do something about it. 3-1. Two of the commissioners were all for it, and the one is just dead set against it. So I know we don't have any answers, but we have a lot of questions, and I think those are pretty darn good questions. But we got to find where to go to get some answers.
Right.
I don't know. I guess we need to talk to Dick.
Well,
we need to talk to Dick Nelson.
We need to talk to Dick Nelson, and we need to see when they're meeting.
Oh, that's true.
Do they have open meetings?
That's a very good question. Sorry, I've got to read here for just a minute. They had postponed it once, and then Tuesday's meeting, they just altered the language and agreed on the alteration. There is a public hearing that must be scheduled before the commission can vote on new measures. So yes, they will have.
So we need to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I think that'd be real interesting to know, because I know it's a very. We don't make it seem that way, but if you go to Facebook and see anyone that's talking about this, you have one side where the local artists are up in arms, and they're furious seeing this as dampening their creative output. Building owners are like, I'm trying to protect the value of my building,
right,
and I don't have a horse in the race. I'm not a particularly good artist, and I don't own any buildings, so I think we should just invite everyone to come paint the Techno Bohemia compound. Just every artist that can't do a mural, we'll bring them here to the Techno Bohemia. We have it's a false top that we have that goes down to the Techno Bohemia compound underneath it, and we can just let them paint it.
Yeah,
just let them go.
Yep.
And we'll do that.
Stephen won't mind.
No. This is the Jenkins wing. What else we got on the list? I'm just scrolling around just a little bit.
Asheville.
Asheville. Actually, it's a good time for it. So this article by Stu Helm. Have you ever heard of Stu Helm? He's a food critic in Asheville. Great dude.
Yeah.
And he will go to the best places, whether it's expensive, whether it's cheap. Yeah. Dude loves food, and he is an artist himself. He's a great graphic designer. Highly recommend. Check out Stu Helm Food Fan on his on Facebook. But he posted this really interesting article. And it's interesting to me. I am not in the restaurant industry. I have never been in the restaurant industry, and I have no interest other than being the fat guy sitting in his own bar at his own table. I don't ever want to be in the restaurant industry, but I love eating. And this, to me, kind of directly impacts Johnson City, possibly, because I don't understand the source of this, because I'm in Asheville almost. I hate to say it, I'm active in Asheville almost more than I'm active in Johnson City, because I have so many things going on over there with different shows I perform with, and roller derby that I'm always doing things with. All my friends are over there. I'm in Asheville all the time, and I see all these restaurants, and I have trouble believing this. This article states that in Asheville, employers, the owners of the restaurants, are having a crisis getting enough employees to staff the back of the restaurant. They say it's mainly the kitchens, it's mainly the back of the house. It's not necessarily wait staff, right. but it is impacted in a way, and they just cannot get enough trained people to do a good job. I mean, it's one thing to hire kids to work in the McDonald's, but if you're Regus and you're trying to get somebody for the back of house, you really need somebody with some experience in that job. Right. And so my question about this is, and I was hoping that we'd have some folks from the restaurant industry. We may come back if somebody shows up. But is it because Asheville has so darn many restaurants? I mean, have they spread the available local workers so thin that they're just used up?
I would guess that would be part of the problem. I would also wonder. I have worked in the restaurant industry, and for the longest time I wanted to be a chef. So I spent a lot of time in the back of the house. And I would also wonder if, because of the skyrocketing price of living in Asheville, if it's just not feasible for trained back of the house to live in
That's
Asheville.
a good point, because if your job is a sous chef,
Yeah.
You're working Tuesday through Sunday, assuming this is like best case scenario.
Yeah.
you're working Tuesday through Sunday. Every
Minimum
day,
10 hours a day.
minimum 10 hours a day, but you're still not making a whole lot over minimum wage. You don't have the opportunity for the tips the front of the house have. And now you're trying to find an apartment in Asheville, which I've tried.
Yeah.
And it's ludicrous. I mean, the apartments around here, downtown, prices are going up.
Mm-hmm.
But you can find decent, affordable, nice little places in downtown Johnson City for $800 a month.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you're really keen, 600 maybe.
Yeah, if you get real lucky, you get less than that even.
Yeah.
But $800 I've found is like a 2-bedroom, because I've don't tell the landlord, but over the years you look around, and in Asheville it starts at $1,200.
Yeah.
It starts at $1,400 and only goes up. And these are the little dive places and old houses downtown.
Right.
And so these people are absolutely working their fingers to the bone. Where do they live? So that is a good point.
Yeah.
Asheville is becoming a place of have and have-nots.
Right. Yeah, it really, I mean, I hate to say it, but Asheville over the last few years, it's great that their economy boomed. It's great that they have so much development there, but unfortunately, people who know the old Asheville can see a very distinct change in the kind of people coming to it, and just the prices of things. It's just a different city now than it was 10 years ago.
10 years ago, downtown was nice and quiet. Mm-hmm. You walk into your favorite places, see people mostly local shops, and now the national chains are coming in. It's being bought up by Atlanta properties. But anyhow, my point is, let's bring this back to Johnson City.
Yes.
Johnson City is now where Asheville was, I guess, about 20 years ago in the 90s. When I was going to Asheville in my college years and in my teens, you didn't go downtown. Downtown was where the porn theater was, and it was where you're going to get mugged and beat up and robbed at night. And I would go there for shows, and the shows were always in the old hardware stores that had been abandoned, and they didn't change any fixtures. They just had a space, and
whatever.
It was a dive. The whole downtown was a dive. You kind of went out of town a little bit, and you could find some stuff. But then a couple investors started building up a couple things, and it grew and it changed, and they had more options, and they had the park, and it became this juggernaut of food and beer. And it took years for beer to catch on in Asheville. Because it didn't used to be. It's only been a beer city for, I swear, about 10 years now.
Right.
Because I'd been going there for years. I'm like, they got breweries here?
What?
And then suddenly it's like there's 20-some breweries within a block of me downtown. Yeah. But here in Johnson City, we've managed to skip a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. And we've come straight into the laws in Tennessee are now available for brewers. And so we've got Johnson City Brewing Company. We've got Yeehaw. Mm-hmm. There's a couple more coming in. We've got Edisonian Brew Shop downtown.
Yeah. And if you count Jonesboro, Depot Street.
Absolutely. Tennessee Hills Distillery, that's my sister's brother-in-law, owns that.
Nice.
Actually, we should talk to him someday. Go down there. Boy, I better chain all this equipment to myself, because I don't know what's happening with him. Steven's a great guy. Actually, I don't know why I didn't think of that before. We need to go down and talk to Steven.
JRH. I don't want to miss that
JRH, one. Absolutely. All of these breweries are popping up, and people are flocking to breweries. I mean, when I was in my 20s, if my buddies and I could get together the $6 for a pitcher of beer, we were thrilled. It's like all of us chip in and we get a pitcher of Bud Light, or if we're really fancy, Killian's Red at Poor Richard's, and we're like, yeah, buddies, let's pool our money. You can't get a beer for that now. You can't get one pint of beer. Well, I'm sorry. $5.
Go to Newman's.
I'm talking about the good
I know
stuff.
the good beer.
But yeah, you're right. Thank goodness for Newman's. They know me down there. I just sit down and my PBR is waiting for me.
Yep.
I could drink the good beer, but I'm in Newman's.
Yeah,
I don't
you're in
need
Newman's.
good
drink
beer
your
when
beers.
I'm home.
Although they have some good bartenders down there who make some
yeah.
legit cocktails.
Those folks are great.
Yeah, they are.
I've known those guys for a long time. Helped out with at least 2 bartenders their weddings over the years and things like that. And that's my place. That's my home away from home. Jan and Dan, great folks. They work so hard for downtown, and I don't think people really see the work they do. They see the karaoke bar and the smoke and
the pool
and the great kitchen. Let's not forget they have a really killer kitchen.
A wonderful kitchen.
But they work so hard to keep.
Yeah.
For example, Little Chicago, the entire food street on Market, that was them. They organized every bit of that. That was their whole domain. And just for years, it's always been them, really supportive and hilarious. They just crack me up every time I talk to them.
So we kind of went on a tangent, but the question was, could what's happening in Asheville happen in Johnson City? And I think it's genuinely possible.
Jamie Dove commented on my question when I asked that earlier today on Facebook, and he said it's a problem here.
Really?
That's what he said. That's only one restaurant owner, though, so I don't know what that if that's representative.
I could believe that because, actually, I think it's the opposite problem of Asheville. Asheville's getting too big for its britches, and Johnson City isn't big enough to fit its britches, so there aren't good trained chefs coming.
That's a good point. Also, the waitstaff, we were talking at Sabore's, that all of the best people that always show up at when a restaurant opens were serving tables at Sabore's. It was like the dream team, the all-stars. It was everything you could want, everyone you wanted to work your table. And in Johnson City, that they stay for a while, it seems, and then they move around to other places, but you always see those familiar faces. They're the best.
And if you're a genuine chef around here, back of the house person, just right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense to stay here if you're improving. Because I could imagine, you're like, I've got some years under my belt, I'm going to go to Charlotte or Atlanta or wherever. Somewhere that has a bigger food scene.
And Charlotte, you find the right neighborhood in Charlotte, and you can find something, at least in my experience, because I tried to find a place in Charlotte too. Yeah. I found some stuff that was comparable to Johnson City. It wasn't the bargain basement stuff that I tend to live in, but it was definitely very affordable, and it would have been pretty good had I decided to cut my hair and get the job.
That's always the question.
I walked in, and the guy in a suit said, "Son, have you got the Lord?"
Oh my God.
And I was like, I think I left him in my car. Out.
Like, I gotta.
It's DJ Ray. He lives in Asheville, and he calls it in the chat room. He calls it a tourist trap. He's been there all of his life, and I mean, DJ Ray. In your experience, you live out of town a little bit, but gosh, to be around Asheville, you have to have a fantastic restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? Black Mountain Biscuit Company is one of my favorite restaurants. It's you go southwest, I think, through Swannanoa. Mm-hmm. You keep going.
Yeah.
You get to Black Mountain, and on the side of a road, it's in a strip mall. It doesn't even have a big sign. And you go in, and these people are pro.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, inside and out. They make biscuits that are like that big.
Yeah.
You get any breakfasty stuff on them, and they put them in bowls. They're so big, so you eat them with a spoon with the toppings on them. But it's just a tiny little place, but it has to be better.
Right.
Even though it's 20 miles outside of Asheville.
Well, since you've mentioned something in Asheville, I have to say my favorite pastry shop in the area is in Asheville. And it's in downtown, but it's not a touristy place. It's called Old Europe, and it's...
Oh, I've not been there. I'm going to go there now.
Oh, my God. It's so good. You go in. It's this two-sided cafe, basically, both narrow sides. So, when it's really busy, you have to scoot around people, and it's really cozy, and it's perfect on like any day of the week. It's perfect.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
It's run by this woman from Eastern Europe, I believe.
Even better. That's a good sign.
She, I believe, she makes the pastries, or a majority of the pastries, and they are killer.
Oh, grandma food.
Old Europe. There's also another place called Old Europe downtown, or there used to be. So it was very confusing. This place is not big fancy.
Nice.
So
that sounds like a place I want to go.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We're at the halfway point. Who else is in the chat room with us? I don't have the chat room list up. Looks like we just got a couple folks. DJ Ray's there, we know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's cool. Just thought I'd do a shout out to the chat room. Anything you want to talk about? Just throw it out here.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, let's talk about food.
Food.
We've already been talking about food.
Yep.
Let's just keep talking about food.
Yep.
So, as often happens, it started with a phone call like, Bailey, tonight's the night. Johnson City Brewing's got their special oyster beer at the Shuckin Shack. Well, actually, I didn't do this because we don't talk on the phone.
We don't talk.
But I sent her a Facebook message that said pretty much that with a link to the event.
Yeah. And he was like, "Do you want to go?" I was like, "Yeah." Oyster beer.
So I was like, I don't know about oysters, but beer.
Beer good.
I've traveled around a lot. I've been on the coast. I've been Florida. I just have never been able to eat oysters.
Yeah.
My friends will go, "Here, have an oyster," and I'm like, "Okay." They were always just. I'm a sensitive texture eater, rubbery, and these. I remember them being rubbery generally, like some kind of like rubber ring in them, and I didn't care for that, and it just turned me off. So we go down to the Shuckin Shack, down on State of Franklin, and first of all. Eric Latham shows up.
Yep.
We had just been talking about him, and he walks in the door, and that beer was fantastic.
It was a porter.
It was a little salty.
Toward the end, you got this sort of brininess.
That's a better
so
description.
So good, and it was so light. It wasn't like ooh salt. It was like ooh.
Yeah, it just really elevated that caramely, malty taste.
Really good.
And it was so good. And so Eric shows up, and I'm like, Eric, this is a oyster beer. Is like, how do you? Yeah, we just threw oyster shells in it. I was like, no wonder it tastes kind of briny. That makes sense. Eric, if you remember our second episode, huge oyster fan. He would put smoked oysters in everything if he could. So this was like his dream come true, and he was there like, I'm ready to eat some oysters. We had we had some appetizers. I had the crab balls, which were pretty good.
Really good.
Those were really good.
Tiny crab
Yeah,
cakes.
they were like that big.
Yeah.
But they were tasty, very tasty. And we had, oh my gosh.
Ahi tuna.
You ordered that pan-seared ahi, and it was fantastic.
It was amazing. You didn't even, it came with a remoulade, but you didn't
I didn't even try it. I went, they had another little brown sauce. It was kind of a soy sauce.
Teriyaki-ish.
Teriyaki-ish.
Yeah.
It was good, but I just needed the fish.
Yeah,
that's all I needed.
So
the tuna was so great.
Mm-hmm.
But then the oysters arrive, and I'm like, let's just get a couple oysters and see what it is. Turns out they had a couple like $1.50 oysters. You could just get one or two. So I was like, well, if I'm drinking oyster beer, I feel like I have to have an oyster. So let's do this thing. And the oyster is like a plate like this with 2 oysters on it, and
jiggly oysters.
Actually, I got a video.
Well, first I wanted to say,
go ahead.
Jamie Dub just cracked me up.
Oh, hey.
That seems pretty big for crab balls.
Biggest pair you ever seen, Dingleberry.
I saw it while he was talking.
These crabs are just dragging around the bottom of the ocean.
That's why they're so easily caught.
Yes. They don't even need a net.
No.
They're like, please.
Pick it up.
Well, Jamie, you're here. Don't go anywhere. We got questions for you. We were just talking about restaurant stuff. Yeah, we got questions. But first, let's see if I can get this video to play. I've not actually tried playing a video before here, but there's a first time for everything, right? Wish me luck. Here.
I mean, what do you want on it? Do you want some?
Do you just load it down? Oh, this is I'm going to do the single hand. There we go. It's a little lemon, it seems to be. It exploded. I swear it played in the test.
Oh, I like the horseradish.
That looks terrible.
Little horsey. I don't know if you... It looks actually very artistic, very impressionist.
Yeah, we could make a mural out of this.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that I'm a professional videographer.
Oh boy. Let's not waste time. Let's just turn that off.
I gotta know. They give it to me, so I figure there's a reason.
That'll be available on the hometown page.
We tried.
I do, but I was ready for that. I was ready for something to go terribly wrong, so I kept some photos handy.
Nice.
25 years in streaming video, you learn a thing or two. Not much, but one or two things. And these are actually the second, because long story short, too late. I loved it. I put all of this stuff on my oyster, the horseradish, the little salsa they had, some hot sauce, some lemon, and this was not in the least bit chewy like I thought it would be.
They were nice. They were buttery.
Oh,
really
they were,
good.
and it was nothing. It was nothing.
I'll say I was hesitant. I do like oysters, but I was hesitant about eating oysters so far inland. But they were great.
And Shuckin, they tell you where the oysters came from. They're like, "Do you want the oysters from here or there?" I'm like, "Which ones are the cheapest?" That's the one I want.
They were really good, though. They said they go on special.
Yeah.
There are a lot that go on special, so.
I liked them. I cannot believe that I liked them. Okay, Jamie, let's get back to you while you're here. We were talking about in Asheville, they're having trouble getting the back of the house staffed. And we were wondering if that's based on the high price of living in Asheville and the folks are just having a hard time living there. I know people that make a lot of money at good jobs can't find places to live in Asheville. Or is it that there's so many restaurants, the workforce is spread out? Do you have any opinion on that happening locally? Is it a problem here, or is it something just for Asheville? While you're doing that, I'm gonna look at these oysters one more time.
Oyster porn.
Oh yeah, I'm sold. I mean, I ate a bunch of them.
I know. Just looking at those pictures, making me.
I could eat those again. I had the weirdest dream though.
Yeah.
I maybe I'll share it with everyone one day. But it was a really weird visual of I'm not even going to go there. It was just really weird. I'm blaming the oysters.
Yeah.
Because usually my vivid dreams are not quite as surreal.
I was telling him that I had a vivid dream last night, too, of being in charge of Merlin.
Oh,
The
Merlin!
wizard cat. I had a dream that for whatever reason, Ren and Keith had to run somewhere and put me in charge of expressing his bladder. It was a very vivid dream.
I don't often have vivid bladder expression dreams.
It's my first.
Oh, yeah. Now, I have had a similar dream about expressing something on my dog, but it's not pleasant. Let's move on. Jamie, once you we'll come back to you.
If his battery didn't die.
Yeah, I'm afraid his battery died.
It's possible.
But I wish I could play that video. Like I said, it'll be available on our Facebook page. You can find us at Hometown East Tennessee online.
Okay.
What else we got?
The Eclipse.
Oh, the Eclipse.
Who saw the Eclipse?
The Eclipse here was really cool.
Yeah.
I was at ETSU. Everybody quit work. I mean,
Yeah.
no one.
Of
I don't
course.
think anybody asked their supervisors. We just
Oh,
walked.
he's there.
Oh, hey, right on, Jamie. Go ahead. Yes, I did. We're asking. There's a problem in Asheville of getting staff. They say primarily for back of house, but they're just saying in general. You think that's based? Does that kind of thing happen in Johnson City? And if it does, what do you think causes it? I think that's a question. Is that a question?
I think, yeah. Because we were saying that maybe it had to do with the high price of living in Asheville, or also the saturation of just the restaurant saturation.
Or is it people just want to stay home and play video games? I know I do.
Be it.
I would be terrible at a restaurant.
I love working in restaurants. Yeah. It's awful. It's awful, but in a predictable, comforting kind of way.
Right.
No, I always did like working in kitchens.
I always thought that that would be my fallback. I really thought I'd have a talent for it. Oh, so Jamie says the funny thing is we recently hatched a plan to try to recruit people over from Asheville because it's a problem here too.
Ruh-roh.
What do you think is the root of the problem? Is it any one thing, or is it just one of those strange mysteries that's going around? Because I know there's a difference between, just hiring somebody to wash dishes
Right.
and then having to hire someone to be an assistant chef or
Right.
an expediter, that kind of thing.
Well, it is hard. Oh.
So he read the article that we posted on the
Well,
on the
no,
site.
you might be wrong because the cost of living here is a lot lower. So maybe you could actually offer them a living wage.
That's a really good point. That's why I was just wondering what the root of it might be. Jamie says one word.
And we're waiting with bated breath for the one word.
And he's on a bit of a delay from us.
That's right. Yeah.
Oysters. I'm
Shuck
sorry.
and Shack. Shuck and Shack just sounds so dirty.
It does. That's another reason I like
I
going
went down to
there.
the Shuck and Shack
I
with
went
my
to the,
sweetheart.
I went to the Shuckin Shack yesterday. Twice. DJ Ray's he goes to the Shuckin Shack. I know DJ Ray goes to Shuckin Shack. And they don't have a restaurant there.
Oh.
It's awkward. Millennials.
Hey,
Oh
don't
no.
blame us. Don't blame us.
Oh no. It's your fault, Bailey.
No.
Stop it.
I'll stop millennialing.
DJ Ray, he has Shuckin Shack on DVD.
Oh my god. Man.
But I mean, I hope it turns around for both cities because I love eating there and I like really good food. Yeah. And but sometimes you can walk into a place and tell there's something's not quite right.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable to expect that people would come over here for the lower living costs. Because Asheville, Asheville's just impossible now if you don't have
If you don't
nice.
have a very, very nice paying job.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if that is a problem I talked with one of my friends with once. Is that, let's see.
Wow. Jamie said that he had lunch at Scratch and Jamie was working the line because she can't find enough people. Jamie, owner of Scratch.
Yeah, different, Jamie.
Right.
I wonder if part of the problem is so many people who get into cooking or being a chef or who think, oh, I want to be a chef. I know this was a problem a few years ago of people seeing like celebrity chefs and thinking that was what a chef's life was. And then when they got in and were barely scraping by, working 13, 14, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, went out of it.
They wanted to go straight to executive chef.
Right. And beyond that, straight to Food Network.
Jamie says they were just in the Outer Banks and every single restaurant was hiring.
Holy shit, why is
They
that?
always talk with owners and such, and everyone was searching high and low.
That's crazy.
This is a bigger problem than that article
Yeah.
made it seem to be. I mean, they were saying in the article, again, available at the Facebook page, they were saying in the article that, they thought it was kind of an Asheville problem because they go other places. They had restaurants in other places, but they didn't have that problem. But
that is bizarre.
yeah, and we were talking about that earlier, Jamie.
Yeah.
Jamie says the biggest problem
Yeah.
I see is front of house people make so much more money than back of house, and there's basically nothing he can do about it as an owner. Yeah, and we were talking about that. It's like if you're working back of house, you're getting a set pay, and if you're trying to live in Asheville, you're
it's
paying a
impossible.
lot of money.
I mean, if you're a waitress in Asheville and you're a good waitress, I'm sure you could probably rake it in a little bit.
Yeah.
I raked it in when I worked in Rogersville, middle of nowhere, when I was a waitress. That's tough.
This is something we might
Bizarre.
follow up on. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
a fascination. Again, as a food fan, I feel a responsibility
Yeah.
to do what I can to get to the core of
What we're
what can
trying
make
to
it
tell
better.
you is this is just going to slowly evolve into a food podcast video.
Yeah.
It'll just be, I mean, we already talked about food 45 minutes out of the hour.
That's true.
But we'll try to keep it local.
And don't get me started on my Instapot.
Oh, don't. No.
That's a whole
Does make good food, though.
whole nother episode.
Yes.
Trust me on
We'll
this.
have an Instagram, or Instapot,
Oh, I can do an Instapot Instagram.
and we'll have an Instapot Insta video.
There we go.
That we could put on Patreon.
I like that. Yeah, we'll do it. Oh, we'll do cooking with voodoo.
Cooking with voodoo.
I like it.
I like it,
I
too.
just grab whatever I can find and throw it in the pot.
Say some words over it.
Well, that's where the magic comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of magic, the Eclipse.
Yes, back to the Eclipse.
Thanks, Jamie. We really appreciate you. Oh, and Jamie says, and the funny thing is, front of the house people are fond of putting out on social media how they only get paid $2.13, and that is complete bullshit. Yeah, I've seen this a lot recently. Weirdly, they make somewhere between 18 and 25 an hour at our places, and we still have to pay $2.13 instead of being able to share more fairly with the back of house. Right. And that leads to more turnover in the back. I can see that. If you're watching the front of house
Yeah.
with fistfuls of cash, you don't even know how much cash they got,
Yeah.
but you know that they're bringing in more than you ever have a possibility of
Yeah,
getting.
I always preferred working in the back of the house, but the last restaurant job I worked, I was a waitress, and I made way more money doing that, even
Yeah.
though I didn't like it nearly as much. But yeah, and a lot of waiters and waitresses don't know that if you don't make a minimum of the minimum wage by the end of the year, like if it doesn't average out to a minimum wage with their tips, the restaurant has to pay you up until the minimum wage. So $2.13 isn't exactly accurate, because at the end of the year, if you really didn't make that much, you have to be compensated for it.
It'll even out for the
the
worker.
If you know that you can do that.
And Jamie says then that leads to more turnover in the back, which makes it expensive to train new folks all the time, again making it hard to give raises. Yeah. And I can only imagine you've got somebody that comes in without experience, but they're really motivated. They want to learn how to again, I keep using the assistant chef, the sous chef kind of job, and you spend months training these people, and they get the skills they need, and they see front of house making twice what they're making. I can see them going, well, I have these new skills now. I can move on to a bigger market and start making money there.
Well, also, I do not mean to besmirch the restaurant industry. I've worked in it. But back of the house people are odd. It is a very hodgepodge group of people that, I don't know how to say this nicely, are not necessarily the most responsible people. Some of them are great, some of them are, but it's just such a hodgepodge of people trying to do, I'm trying to figure out how to put it. The restaurant industry really,
I have nothing to add.
It's a catch-all for a lot of populations.
Right.
Not
Not necessarily with the most healthy habits.
Right. Like if you read Kitchen Confidential or anything like that, and you've ever worked in the restaurant industry, it may not have been that crazy, but you'll recognize, like, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of drugs in the kitchen, or there were, I mean, it's just a weird population is just what I'm trying to say. And I can see that as maybe contributing to making it hard to keep people, responsible people.
I hope it changes for everyone.
Yeah, me too.
Both for the people in the back of the house and for the owners that can't get that staff they need.
I didn't know that, Jamie. Thanks. He said the minimum wage thing must be reconciled immediately. Yeah, so if they don't make minimum wage, we make up the difference right then. I did not know that.
Oh, that's cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, where you work. And it's never happened where I have waitressed, to me at least.
And honestly, if you're not quite making minimum wage, how long can you stay?
Yeah, and I mean, you got to be a pretty bad waitress to not make at least minimum wage. Yeah.
Right on. Well, thanks for that
Yeah.
look into the restaurant industry, Jamie. We want to come down and talk to you one day. Maybe we'll talk to you next week if you got time. Find a Thursday. We'll come to you. We'll figure it out. It'll be good to talk to you. And we got a few other people online. It's just this week I work at the university for my day job, and right now classes are starting, and I've got enough stress in my life. So we were going to stay right here on my comfy couch with let me grab another beer here with the cooler right here within easy reach. Oh, hey microphone, how are you?
Oh, I was like, I thought someone was coming through the door. I was like, I was terrified. Yeah.
Oh, nice Oktoberfest.
Ooh, yeah. We are being very basic this episode.
That's true. I started off with the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
We had the pumpkin.
We've got our Uggs on. You can't see them. They're
Right.
down there though.
Right.
I've got a pumpkin latte, fragrance on.
I do whatever that is. I don't quite understand it, but I do all of that basic stuff.
We're all both very basic.
Actually, we both like sampler packs.
Love sampler packs.
I'm a variety guy. I produce a variety
Yeah.
show. I just like everything
course.
different.
Hey.
Oh, right on. So Jamie's going to be downtown next Thursday. Let me give you. I'll give you a shout on one of these social things. I'd love to talk to you. Maybe we can come down to the pizza place. It'd be fun. DJ Ray. Oh my! What a big microphone you have.
That's a different thing he has on DVD.
That's right.
Oh my God! Before we move on, I have to share this because I just can't not share it. So there's a for Rick and Morty fans out there. There is a Mr. Mises porn. You're welcome.
You should have told me this to begin with, so I could have had it queued up. I could have just.
I just saw a screenshot from the Mr. Mises standing there, and I was like, no. I think it's him and Summer.
Right after the last show we did, we watched Rick and Morty,
Yeah.
and I've been screaming "Pickle Rick" at work all week. They're so sick of me. Pickle Rick. Sorry, that was a total aside.
Kid Rick's still my favorite.
Kid Rick is good, but I don't know. Pickle Rick has affected me on a deep philosophical level. DJ Ray, oh my gosh, we've now scandalized DJ Ray. That's it. Good night, everybody. I've done everything I've set out to do. Okay, Eclipse. I swear to you, we're going to talk about the Eclipse.
Gotta get there.
The Eclipse was awesome. I was at work right in front of the administration building, or behind it, I guess, technically. And we had 97.5. 0.5 is very important. I'm told that 97 didn't cover it. It was 97.5. And I sat out there, and I made a little pinhole Cisco box with a pinhole on one side, and I punched it out, and it didn't work, so I had to put my glasses over it and focus it. Finally, when it was finally at its peak, lady gave me her solar viewer.
Oh,
so
nice, yeah.
I actually got to see it both ways. It was really cool, but things got this gray, green, blue color, and it cooled down, and the cicadas started crying, and birds started chirping. It was really, really cool. But you got the real show.
I got the real show.
Right on.
I went down to, so I have family in the North South Carolina. So they got about a minute of totality.
Wow.
And I went down there. My stepdad had gotten the glasses. And I've never seen an eclipse, not a partial eclipse, nothing. And I remember thinking I want to see it. But I also remember thinking I'm not really that excited. Like, I was excited, but not like...
It was a curiosity.
Right, it was a curiosity. It was like, oh. But when it started, I started freaking the fuck out. I was like, this is amazing! And, it stood out in the yard through the whole thing. And, everything... The first thing I noticed, and the coolest thing, and you probably noticed this too, was, the sky looked, before the total eclipse, long before it, the sky started looking dark. Not it was dark in a weird way. It was like if you took a picture and you pulled down the brightness.
Right. Like the contrast was a little bit off.
Right. The contrast was a little off. And I was like, huh, that's odd.
It was really cool. And I felt the temperature drop about 10 degrees.
The birds, I remember the birds stopped chirping. And yeah, the cicadas started chirping.
There was one cicada when it all came back up. I'm sorry. When it all came back up, all the cicadas were like, wait.
Right.
And they stopped, but this one was like, warp, warp. It was like, warning, warning. I don't know what's going on.
I know. I told my stepdad, I was like, I think it's interesting. I like the idea of the cicadas, like, when it's getting dark, them going, oh shit, and just start chirping. And then when it stops a minute later, they're like, oh, wait, what?
Right.
Oh, shit.
Oh, damn it.
Oh.
I'm sorry,
No.
I interrupted what you were saying.
Oh, no. But yeah, it was very interesting and the totality, like I said, they had about a minute of totality where they were, which felt like 15 seconds. Because you're so excited. Like, you're like, holy shit, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And yeah, it felt like it just went by. And I think the coolest part about that was just as it was ending, it was amazing how bright it got. Like, you could actually see,
Yeah.
you could see it getting brighter.
The lights, the dawn was coming
It
again.
seemed like there was it was kind of like if you were on a stage and the lighting guy was like, and
Or if you're like
brighter.
if you're in a football or basketball stadium and you ever been there when they turn on those lights that take half an hour to warm up?
Oh no.
Yeah, they turn them on and first you just and then slowly over half an hour they come up and suddenly it's bright. It's like, oh, wow.
It was cool. And the cool thing is if you missed this one, we have 3 more in the next 30 years in the United States, like cross United States.
Yeah, 2024, 40?
30, I think it's 2024, 2044.
Yeah,
And
that sounds right.
I think there's another one in the 30s. And they're all within driving distance from Johnson City. I mean, it might be 8 hours.
Yeah.
But they're within a reasonable area.
As I remember, the one in 2024 it'll start like in Texas and swoop up like through Indiana,
that's
Wisconsin.
right. Yeah.
And then the 2044 will actually go across the top of Texas down and just cover Florida from the panhandle to the tip. It's going to cover
and
Florida.
And then one of them goes from like New York and like sort of scoops down, I think.
Yeah.
I saw a map.
Yeah.
But there are more coming, so if you miss this one...
I can't wait till the one in Florida. It's going to be like the movie The Purge. It's just people are going to start shooting each other. What the hell's that? Can't let Florida off the hook. Can't do it.
Nope.
We're almost out of time. Anything else we can talk to you about, chat room? While you're trying to organize your thoughts, we've had to put hold on the audio podcast for a little bit. I love doing the audio podcast. It was what I really want to do, but audio stuff works different than video stuff. Video stuff we can put on YouTube, and there you go. Audio stuff, they want us to pay for the bandwidth and then per view or per download, and it's just more than I want to pay per month until we maybe once we get really good numbers on the YouTube shows and on the YouTube videos. But right now, I just can't justify the monthly payments. And in 2 episodes, I completely blew apart our quota, the amount of bandwidth that we had. And so doing 2 episodes a week, there's no way.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. And even when it did play, it would put 2 episodes up and delete all the episodes before that quota. So... Well, thank you, DJ Ray. He says, great to see you guys. Keep up the good work. We appreciate you. DJ Ray's been here for every episode so far. Jamie's been here for most of them.
Yeah.
And we did not talk about the Lovely Doubly this episode.
Not yet. Lovely Doubly.
That sure is a good sandwich. But we're just about out of time. Don't worry, we're going to be back in just a few minutes. We're going to shut down the show right now. We're going to go to the extra.
After show.
Yeah, we'll do a little after show for a little bit. Bailey and I'll talk about whatever the heck we want to talk about.
Yeah, at that point, all bets are off.
Yeah,
We've all had a few beers.
This is the fun one. This is where the party begins. And who knows, maybe even Verbal will show up if he wakes up. He is out. But that's it for Hometown East Tennessee this week. Be sure to check us out on Patreon. We could really use your support. That'd help us get that audio show going again, upgrade our equipment. That's it. We just want to do what we're doing, but do it better. And I could probably build a little remote kit that would allow us to go out easily to do these shows. So,
and we love doing those.
Yeah, that's the best. Just getting out and actually being on location. It's so much fun. But that's patreon.com/hometown. Not hometown JC, just hometown. And any amount is great. $1 an episode. Remember, it works by episode. So we put out 2 episodes a week, and you'll only be charged for when we put out an episode. So we will not charge you ever. We will not do 3 and charge you for it. We won't do it. Not to say we won't have other opportunities to buy things. Because this stuff can get expensive fast, it turned out. But that's Patreon/hometown. Yep. What else do I need to plug? What are you doing this week, Bailey? Are you writing?
I'm always writing.
I thought so.
Just framed. I have some artwork I did for the cover for my novel that didn't necessarily make it in, so I framed it and have thought about.
That's great. I love that. I love the work you did on those.
Thanks. Yeah.
And I'm going to be in West Jefferson, North Carolina, Saturday. I'm going to be there visiting a cheese factory.
Ooh.
And announcing roller derby for the Appalachian and Charlotte roller girls.
It's mostly the cheese factory.
But yeah, let's be honest, it's mostly the cheese factory, and I'm lactose intolerant, so this is only going to end badly for the roller derby people. Let's be honest. And next week, I'm somewhere or other. Just BigDaddyVoodoo.com. I got nothing else to say. Let's call it a night. Good night, Bailey.
Good night, Shane.
Oh no, here I go. I'm hitting the buttons. That's it.